talk about the trips to Japan here. So, I do have a trip coming up in a week and a half. And it is September 6th, and then I'll be there for a week, and I'm supposed to come back on October 4th. Now, the original plans for Japan in 2025 was just October 4th, so pretty much the whole month, October 4th through the 31st, and sit in my car, the Mustang, more specifically. However, as time, as it got closer, and I'm starting to just double check some things, because, what I do know are the quotes to get the car over there and to have the documents, the paperwork to allow me to drive it, and that is $10,000, and that is fine for me. I've been to Japan a couple times. I have driven, those cars, rented those cars and stuff from like Moshiro and whatever, and I believe that at this point, renting my car or bringing my own car and driving my own car is like the next step. It's the only thing that's like going to be, like the thing to do. So, anyway, to me, $10,000 to have my car over there for a week or for a month is reasonable. Because when I go to Japan, I'm going to have a car regardless. Now, of course, just renting a car is not nearly anywhere near that expensive, even for a month, because I rented a car for almost the whole month that I was there. I think the first 3 days, the last time, I didn't have a car, but I was there for a month. And, it was fine. The prices were not that bad for anything, honestly, in 2023, as you would imagine. So anyway, aside from that, bringing my car for a month was the thing. However, $10,000 in the way that it breaks down, so I did my inquiries. It's $2,500 each way, picked up from home, going on a roll-on, roll-off to Yokohama. $2,500 each way, $5,000. And then you need a CPD, a Carnet de Passage en Douane. And that is $4,600 or $6,500 or something like that. If you pay the higher amount, you will get much more money back because you don't own the CPD. It is something that you are using temporarily for your temporary import, and then you are sending it back to the company that you get it from. And there's only one company to get it from. And so those are the prices, $6,400 or $46,000. And I'm fine with getting less back on the end after I send it back. So $10,000, and that's a little high. It's obviously it's technically $9,600. And that number is fucking fine to me. To do something that can, that's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing for me to take my car. Because renting the car is just not the answer. I don't like driving those cars, because the thing is with the, with those legend cars, the JDM Legends and stuff, those cars are fucking 30 years old at least. 25 minimum, typically 30. And it is, to me, it's not confidence inspiring to drive those cars, because they get beat on, they get driven way more than often. And even like in those cars, if you owned any of those cars, you wouldn't even drive that shit around, like, except for very, very, very fair weather days anyway. Like, so thinking this R30 whatever fucking Skyline, which isn't known for having the best reliability, And this one gets driven around every day by anybody from anywhere. You know, it's just, I don't feel comfortable driving those cars because you do have to pay if the car breaks while you have it. And, you know, Omoshiro, they have a white R34 that Lewis Hamilton, as in that Lewis Hamilton, had a video of him doing donuts in it. Now imagine if you have that car the next day after Lewis Hamilton has it and the fucking transfer case goes out because he was doing donuts. You have to pay for that. Like, fuck all of that. So anyway, despite knowing what I have to do to get the car there, there is a roadblock, which is insurance. So if you go to Japan with a IDP, International Driver's Permit, which I just got mine for this trip Saturday, the other day, that does not give, you know, you can't get insurance. So I don't know how the fuck you're even supposed to get insurance without a Japanese license. However, until October, you can get a Japanese license as a non-resident, and that is the reason I'm going there to get that license. So I will be there for a week, starting on September 6th. I come back on the 12th. And then I go back to Japan, hopefully as a Japanese license holder, October the 4th. Now, I will still not have my car in Japan on that trip as originally desired, and that is because I have to send my car there. I don't know if I'm going to get the license. Now, here's the thing about the license. I live in a state. There are very few countries that have a reciprocal agreement with Japan, and, you know, as far as being able to get your license without having to do tests and all this other stuff. United States is not one of those very few countries. However, there are 5 states in the United States that do have a reciprocal agreement. So, with that being the case, I am in one of those states because we have one of the Japanese automotive manufacturers here, and I believe that's the reason that we have the agreement. So that means that I am able to go to Japan with the documents that, you know, the necessary documents, which there is no clear list, but from what I read, I am going to need a JAF translation, which is something I should be able to get there in a, you know, like on the same day thing. Walk in with it, walk out. A license history, which I ordered a certified license history. That is not the driving history or the driving record, but license history. And then they're gonna want possibly something that will allow, or that will show that I have been here in the place issuing my license for more than 90 days. But you would think that this physical license that says it was, you know, given to me how many ever years ago, you know, you would think that itself is enough. But I don't know. It's one of those things where you're going to have to give more than you think. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use pay stubs. I'm going to use this license. I'm going to get a JAF translation because you don't need a JAF translation in order to actually just in order to drive. You just need an IDP. At least here you do. So, you know, like Germany, they need a JAF translation. So, but apparently, in order for the license conversion, I will still need that. So, I'm doing those things, and then I'm trying to get the license. But I can't send the car there because I don't know if I'm going to get the license, and then the car would still be on the way here, and I'd still be out of all that money to send the car. So, and speaking of documents and things that are needed, the October trip is supposed to be 3 people: me, my kid, and my best friend. Now, so mom of child is not a person that I would bring to Japan because of it not being America adjacent enough. It is not like we are separate or anything like that. It's just that, like, Japan, I'm not gonna bring somebody, like, she would only really want to go to Japan because I'm going. Like, the first time, I guess she even, like, when I went the first time, she didn't even, I don't know if, she knew I was going, but she was like, oh, you should have told me so I could have went. I'm like, something like that is not even something that you would want to do. It's just like, you do things, you want to go to places that I'm not going, like, I'm not interested in going, and I'm just not going to go to those things. But more than that, like, there's an amount of anxiety. So let's say if they want to do something, like, if it were the 3 of us going, or she was one of the people going, her and the kid would want to do something that I probably wouldn't want to do. Like, I'm not gonna go to, like, Disney or Universal Studios when I go to Japan. It's just not going to happen. Now, that's probably something that they would want to do. And, like, with the way that things are with those anxiety deals, it's just like, if you're in a station, like, if you're in, one of the stations, and and I'm not around, and the step-by-step decides not to work because the station is so deep, and that's the thing that happens. You lose connection when you're deep in those stations, and maybe the step-by-step doesn't work, and then, you gotta like make it to wherever you're going, and you feel like, oh my God, like I'm not dealing with any of that, so that's why that's not a thing. So just to, put that out there. And it, just in general, it's not America adjacent enough, but personally, I'm not really interested in spending money to go to places that are America adjacent enough. So, But anyway, as I was going to say, speaking of documents and not knowing things, my buddy, best friend there, I don't know if he's going to be able to go because, he sent for his passport whenever, like, I think it was, I got my passport for my kid on a Saturday, and then he did his the following Tuesday, so like 3 days later, and they sent him something, which I don't know if he thought it was the passport, and I don't know when he got it. He said he got it this past Friday or Saturday, is what he said. And I had him. Then he opened it. I'm like, did you get your passport? Because I need, because I'm trying to get the tickets using my Venture X, for the travel points and all that stuff. Since I'm trying to do that, I have to have the passport numbers for everybody when I book the flight. Now, if I book directly with an airline, I don't think I need that. But, even as it sits, I'd have to pay more money to be able to get a cancelable ticket, which would suck anyway. But with this, with this situation, the passport, so, the letter was dated for the 6th of this month. It's like the 26th or something, or 27th. And so I don't know what the deal is with that, but he said he got it, and then, because I asked him about that on Sunday, this past Sunday, and then he gets the thing, and then he opens it up and reads it, and it's, oh, we need this, and this, and so on and so forth. So it's not the passport, it's them requesting more information, and that was sent out such a minute ago. What the fuck? But anyway, so the next day I'm like, all right, man, we gotta call these people. So we do that on a 3-way call, because I have to know everything, because I'm the one buying the fucking tickets. And maybe I won't be buying, maybe he will not be going, because at the current time, he has to get a long form birth certificate. I guess the one that he submitted was not like the long form version or whatever, so that wasn't good enough. And then they want more versions or more copies of identification, so he's got to do all that stuff. He's got to order that, which he did. He ordered it yesterday, or not yesterday. These days are weird for me because of my work hours. He ordered it Monday, so we got to see when that comes. He's got to get high school transcripts, and then also use yearbooks, yearbook and yearbook photos, and using they are requesting a fair amount of information, and I don't know, because the person on the phone told him that whenever he's calling back about this stuff, he needs that by October 3rd. And but here's the thing: if this goes on too long, then I'm not gonna be able to, I'm not gonna buy the ticket the day before the fucking flight, because then it'll cost $10,000 just for him to go. Now, 3 weeks out from the trip, which is unfortunately in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3.5, something like that. That'll be the cheapest time aside from 6+ months. So these flights, it's 6+ months out. It's very cheap, and then 3 months out is a very cheap time, and then it just fluctuates, and then 3 weeks out it goes down probably to the lowest, aside from being way super out there. But then within 3 weeks, yeah, it's gonna be horrible. Now the idea that I had was that I could take my kid on this September trip, but the thing is, I'm only focused on getting this license. So doing stuff that is fun and having extra time for that stuff just isn't gonna be a thing. And I have to see. I'm pretty sure that my ticket should be something I can change for a fee, so I could come back later. I could make that trip just 2 weeks and bring her along, and just that's our trip, and then nobody goes in October, because here's the thing: without the license or without the car situation, I really don't want to go in October anyway. So that's just kind of how I really feel about it anyway. I don't really want to go in October if I'm not driving my own car, because driving my own car is the main attraction to going to Japan this time. And now that I have to, like I said, I couldn't find any information about getting any kind of insurance aside from getting a Japanese license, which then will allow me to at least get the daily coverage, the daily insurance that you can get from the convenience stores. And that's how good Japan takes care of its own. And I won't even be its own, but I will have something, you know, of Japan, which would just let me get, you know, a solid, you know, just a single price insurance that everybody can get for that same price. Now that works out to be higher than, you know, a normal thing, but just the fact that you can do that, like, I can't just get a day's worth of insurance to just drive a car for a day in the States. I have to call and get my ass fucking reamed for whatever the fuck they want, which is just gonna be a lot of goddamn money. So, yeah, no, that's kind of how it works. But anyway, as far as that trip is concerned, October, you know, it could end up just being me and my kid, which is, you know, like, that's fine. But, you know, it would be a short trip. Like, you know, if I weren't doing this license stuff, a week, and and like with her, I think a week would be good enough, because, you know, I don't really, I'm like us hanging out that amount of time, I'm like, I don't know if I can do all the stuff that I would even want to do while I'm in Japan if she's there. Like, you know, there's gonna be some, like, obviously some time of day things. Like, in Japan, you can just be out and about, like, really late at night. Now, you know, it'll be safe, you know. She's 10 now. If I were 10, you know, it would be, you know, it's just a different story. That's another thing why, that's another part of why that would be less of a good thing. Like, let's say when I was 10 or something, like, I could probably be fine, or I would definitely be fine, you know, if I had gone to Japan and, you know, I could be by myself. And you could really do that in Japan as it is. It's a lot safer in those respects than the U.S. is. But, you know, that USA-ism, you know, will still rear its ugly head. So, you know, like, if I wanted to just, like, go out or whatever and have a night walk or do some, like, night walk reflecting, you know, the only way I'd be able to do that, like, I would have to have her in the car or something. She'd probably just, like, fucking fall asleep. And then, you know, maybe I could just do a talking video. But, you know, of course, in Japan, I'm not going to have I'm not going to do the thing with the camera, like, where the camera's just facing this cowl of the car. I will have the camera out to where you can see stuff, you know, actual stuff, which would be great. Make the videos more engaging, because now, you know, all you're listening to is my voice. But there are plenty of these kinds of things where it's just somebody's logo is still image and whatever. So, I don't know. But I gotta figure out what to do about these tickets, because, you know, I have to get mine and my kids' tickets for October. Gotta, like, do that within a couple of weeks. Like, the week after I get back is probably the latest that I can afford to wait to buy tickets without the prices just being fucking ridiculous. And on top of that, I would have to probably go with Delta in order for us to get, like, 3 seats together, which, you know, which in itself is going to be a problem with price, because the other, you know, I mean, the other airlines, I could book with United and fly ANA. I can book with American and fly JAL anyway for less money than with Delta. But, I mean, Delta has pretty good prices, or Delta has pretty good service, because I've flown to Japan with them. So, you know, it's like it won't be the worst thing to have to fly them, but the price wise, like, you know, you still do the code share and get ANA or JAL, which is, you know, also something that I've done. So, I mean, when I go to Japan here in a week and a half, I will be flying on JAL. I'll be doing American for my domestic leg to New York, I believe, and then it'll be from New York to Haneda on JAL A350 1000. I've done, you know, the United and ANA thing as well. Flying into EWR, which is Jersey, and then got a self-transfer to JFK, and then you fly All Nippon out of there. So, and then Delta. But, you know, I mean, my Delta experience was before COVID, so it could honestly be better. Like, that could be much better than what I would get today. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's going to be it for this video. If anything changes, you know, I'm expecting possibly the next video just to be me at the airport in a different format where you can actually see what's going on around me, to make things, you know, more interesting. We'll probably do that. And I'm thinking that will be on another channel. Like, I will create another channel that things are going to be more interactive. I'll still keep this channel, but, you know, like stuff with my cars and like this trip, these trips and all this stuff. Like, if I want to show stuff, you know, I don't really show stuff on this, on my channel. So, or my current channel. So, we'll see. And with that, bye for now.